Hey everybody, this is Hadley Thorne with Weird Realities, and I'm here today with Krystal Michelle of Blonde Books and Campfire Tales. So, hey Krystal, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today, Hadley?
Pretty good. It is sunny finally. It's been raining for about a week. So,
Oh, that's nice. It's still cloudy here.
yeah, I
Cloudy and
missed I
rainy.
missed out seeing the green comet. Did you see it?
No, there was too many clouds.
Yeah. Well,
I tried, but there it was just really cloudy.
well, for those of you who aren't familiar with Blonde Books and Campfire Tales, it is our very own Bethany Stutzman, wonderful author, and Krystal Michelle. They are lifelong friends, and they're doing this incredible new podcast where they get together and talk about urban legends and paranormal stuff and just anything goes, I think. So, how are you enjoying the podcast world, Krystal?
Well, I've been listening to podcasts for years, so it's pretty fun to actually be like on the other side of it and doing my own thing and talking about stuff that I've always found really interesting. So I'm really liking it. It's really exciting.
Good. I've tuned in. I think when y'all done it, I don't know, once or twice. Y'all had two episodes so far, and y'all will be live this coming Wednesday at, I believe it's 9 Eastern, and that makes it what, 5 Pacific?
6 Pacific.
Six
Yeah, 9
Pacific.
Eastern and 6 Pacific. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're talking about the vanishing hitchhiker this week.
So how do y'all pick your topics? Just personal interest or just random?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. We just, we've, like Bethany and I have always shared a lifelong love of like the paranormal and urban legends. And so it's just like, well, um, what's a good story that, and I mean, since we're still so new, we pretty much have the whole world open to us on topics. Um, but we're just talking about what we like, and we're just like, okay, well, here's some of the stories that we think are more popular and well known, and I think that's kind of what we're starting with, and we'll probably get into some of the more lesser known stories as we go. But
Well, I'm excited. I love to listen to these types of podcasts. And, the thing about Weird Realities, we're all over the board. And I love it. I love that there's just something, it's just a mixed bag of nuts. And that's not just the people, but it's a lot of fun. And we love having you and Bethany on board. And I'm super excited because I feel like it's a really good fit, Um, I know
yeah,
that I want you to help with some of the true crime stuff because I hear you've got a very big interest in true crime.
oh yeah, I devour true crime, podcasts, documentaries, books. Pretty much always have some of that I'm reading or listening to or watching most of the time. It's just fascinating. I think a lot of times what really gets me is just the psychology of it, because it's terrifying, these things that happen, and you're just like, how does somebody get to this point in their life that they're able to do these horrible things to other people? It's terrifying but really fascinating at the same time.
Oh, it definitely is. So, what are some of the true crime podcast or stories that have really captured your imagination?
Well, podcast wise, like if we're talking about some of the podcasts that I really listen to, definitely I'm getting into the podcast on Weird Realities, which I think that everybody on Weird Realities like does really well on their topics. But I also listen to um, Morbid, and That's Why We Drink, and I love Bailey Sarian. Like she just does a great job. Like,
She does. I'm a
oh,
huge fan of her.
I love her. um, she just really does do a great job. But some of the stories that fascinate me, I would say, um, oh, now I'm not going to be able to think of one. But I mean, some of the ones that I've been watching recently, obviously, because we did the one a few weeks ago on the West Memphis 3.
That
And
was crazy, wasn't it?
yeah, and it's interesting to me how sometimes, it's not even always about who actually did the crime. It's about the terror and the hysteria that can be built up around it and how quickly that can go overboard and just flames up. And so that's definitely an interesting, I think, with that case particularly. It's
Yes.
just you really see how quickly hysteria takes hold of an entire community.
Well, that was just such a weird. I mean, I did not know all of the things that we found out over the course of researching that topic,
Oh,
and it
definitely.
was
I
just
definitely
one
learned
of.
stuff on that.
It was just wow. And if you get a chance, y'all should go listen to that because it was a fun one for all of us to do. I think.
Yeah, I
And
think so. I think we all kind of knew the story somewhat, but I think we all really learned a lot more about it, especially because there's still developments in the case even now.
oh yeah, definitely.
So, and yeah, it's interesting to me. I think when you talk about that or other cases that deal with the satanic panic era, um, how relevant still some of that is, because I don't think we're really in, like, we're kind of out of the satanic panic era, but everybody, like, there's just always some new thing, some new enemy for people to just really try to pin everything on. It's this or it's that. Um, I would say the satanic panic of today is probably the trans and drag community. They're really being made by some people into this huge enemy that it's just
And that makes
not what it
no
is.
sense to me
It makes
because
absolutely no sense.
I mean, and like I'll say I'm a woman of a certain age, but I was a kid in the '90s, and that's when I
Mhm.
was in college and going out. And one of my good friends from growing up here in Brandon is a drag queen, and I ran into him at a drag club with some other friends of mine, and it wasn't even a thing. I
Right?
don't understand how it goes from not being a thing that anybody really thought anything about to being um, something like what you're describing because it just doesn't make sense to me.
It makes absolutely no sense to me, because I agree, like, um I was more going out, like, I'm not super much younger than you, but a little bit. And so I was more going out in like the early 2000s and going to drag shows, and I have some really good friends that are drag queens. I have some really good friends and family that are part of the LGBTQIA, including trans. And it's just, like back in the 60s and 70s, it was a huge thing for anybody to be any of that. And they fought so hard. And it just became like, in like the 90s and 2000s, it just became this normal thing. And nobody thought twice about it. If you wanted to go see drag shows, they were there. But if you didn't want to, they weren't. And I kind of think possibly the reason that it's becoming such a big thing now is because since then they've started doing more things, which I think are great, like the drag brunches or the drag story hours. And people are like, oh my gosh, they're going to do these horrible things to kids. And it's like, well, no, because yeah, if you go to a nightclub, to a drag show, there's going to be sexual innuendo, and there's going to be a little bit more racy of a show, because you're dealing with a 21 and up crowd. You're dealing with adults. But
Well,
if
I
you
mean,
go,
you have to think then it's just like going to a comedy show.
it is. That's exactly what it is. And then, like, if you have like the drag brunch or the drag story hour, yeah, they're dressed, but they're not dressed in some nightclub outfit, and they're dressed in normal outfits. And it's just like if you're going to any other story time, it's for the kids. They're not bringing in, or like, it just makes no sense to fight that, because they're just exposing, if anything, they're exposing kids to, hey, there's different types of people in this world. But if you don't want your kids exposed to that, just don't take them. And that's all there is to it.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it takes a certain kind of person to take their child to a, after hours adult venue anyway.
And most after hours adult venues aren't going to let your kid there. Like they're
Exactly.
not.
I mean, so I don't know. It seems to me that oftentimes today people are just looking for something to be upset about
Yeah. But I
instead of
think there's
focusing on, the positive. They want to look outside and
mhm.
find something wrong with their neighbor.
I think that there's always been those people that are always trying to find somebody to hate and somebody to blame society's woes on. And I think how prevalent social media is and how easily everything is shared has kind of exacerbated that, especially in the last few years since the pandemic, when everybody, we spent like a year and a half barely being able, maybe even longer, barely being able to leave the house for much more than to go to the grocery store. So you just really were on there and on like spent, I just think it was just gave people that much more time to be looking at what can I blame things on? And I think that that kind of blew things up.
Yeah. Well, definitely. There are a lot more keyboard commandos
Mm-hmm.
these days, for sure.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean people who they would never say something to your face. They're going to wait till they get home and they're going to put it on their Facebook or on their Twitter, or, they're just going to be kind of jerks.
Yeah. People love being able to hide behind their keyboard and it gives them a sense of power. So, but it's kind of scary because, that's like, it's just, that's exactly how, I mean, well, the keyboard isn't exactly how, but it's that mindset that is how things like the West Memphis 3 happened. It's how things like the witch hunts happened, or um, just any time that some sort of group's been singled out in history.
Yeah.
It's always been because somebody wants to find some way to blame somebody else for their issues.
Isn't that the truth? It definitely is. And boy, we've gotten deep today.
I know. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I was
Oh,
going to send us off on that tangent.
oh goodness. So, tell me about how long you've known Bethany and what y'all have in common, and just where you see your show going, developing wise.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bethany and I have known each other since we were about 11 or 12, like since junior high. And I think we met because we were put on a social studies project together. And she and I actually kind of clashed a little bit at the beginning. I think because we were both trying to take charge of our like group. But then like, and it was just like a like work project, like school project group. But then all of us like basically became friends, and um and once she and I got over who was going to be in charge of our school project, the things that you find about when you're 12, we realized we both were really into ghost stories and the paranormal, and we both really liked reading. We both really liked R.L. Stine. I think she was reading Goosebumps at the time, and I had been reading Fear Street for years, so I never really got into Goosebumps. Um, but she had a much more conservative household, and uh, so Goosebumps were kind of rebellious for her at that time. And my brothers were sitting me down to watch horror movies with them when I was 5. So I just was like, that stuff is like, I was kind of snotty about it. I will admit it. I was like, that's not scary. What's wrong with you guys watching that? But I just was exposed uh, to horror at a younger age because of my brothers, and so I apologize, Bethany, for being snotty about that. Um, but I mean, we were like we definitely were into a lot of the same stuff. we were in choir together, and then in high school, before we even realized it, we both signed up for the color guard together. So that was something like we showed up for the first day of band camp and we were like, oh, I didn't even realize, because I think we were in some like stupid, oh no, I know what it was. I know what we thought about that year. I was considered too boy crazy, so I wasn't allowed to go to her 8th grade promotion party. That was when I was banned from her house.
Oh, not too boy crazy in the 8th grade when all
I
your
know.
hormones
I'm
are
like, who
starting to
is
kick
it?
off.
Yeah, so then I just like, so then of course I was like, well, everybody else went and I didn't, so I like refused to talk to her all summer, but then we got over it as soon as we saw each other again at band camp.
So y'all were both in band?
Yeah, we were in the color guard. So
Oh,
that's like, for people that are not aware of technical terms, it's that's the side group that does the flags, the rifles, sabers, dance, like all the flashy stuff on the field.
that's so cool. So you didn't play instruments, y'all just got to do the fun dancing stuff.
Yeah, I cannot play an instrument. Don't ask me to. But I still have the band camp stories.
That's so cool. So that I love that y'all have known each other that long. I think I told you Jen Salmons and I. She moved here from Detroit when she was. We were both going into our senior year, so we've known each other considerable years and
Yeah.
have remained good friends. Um, but Finley also went to high school with me. We knew each other in high school, but we weren't really good friends. So we just have kind of become friends over the years since high school.
Okay.
And And Morgana and I met, I guess about 20 years ago now. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But, but you and Bethany are new. I've known Bethany, I think, about a year now. And I'm so glad that she brought you into our little family here, our little weird tribe.
I am too, because I feel like I can vibe with you guys. I feel like I met my people.
Yes, yes.
Like we all have our own little eccentricities and just like love to talk about it and share it. And yeah, I think it's great.
And we all love our animals.
Oh my gosh, yes. All love our animals. How
So,
can you not? They're so cute and fluffy.
do you have cats or dogs or birds or hamsters or what do
Yeah.
you have?
I have currently one cat. She's a rag doll. You might see
Oh,
her sometimes during Blonde's books and Campfire Tales because she likes to hang out on the bed behind me. Um, I think somebody commented on our last one that they saw her tail flicking behind me.
well, we're all big animal lovers. I used to have cats and I've moved over to dogs now. So,
Okay, yeah. I grew up with dogs and I love dogs. Like we were never without a dog as a kid, but then after I graduated college and moved out on my own, I was working. I was working 3 jobs, working 18-hour days, and I was like, well, I want an animal. Like it's nice to have somebody to come home to, even if it's like whether it's a person or an animal. It's nice to have to know you're not coming home to an empty place. And I was like, I don't have time for a dog. Like I'm gone 18 hours a
no,
day.
dogs are like children, cats are like roommates.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's when I got a cat. 6 months later I got another cat because he was like my first cat was super clingy and I was like, he's probably just lonely. And then my friend found a feral cat having kittens in his attic crawl space. So I ended up taking one of those home. Um, and now I just have just the one. I just have Olive. So, but I mean, cats are like, they're great. Like all animals are great, honestly.
They're just different.
Yeah.
Growing up, I thought all cats were girls and all dogs were boys.
That's really funny. My mom would refuse to have any male dogs growing up because I don't know, she just had this mindset that like male dogs were more aggressive. So all our dogs growing up were girls. But now she has a beagle, a male beagle, and he's the sweetest. He's just a
You know,
total sweetheart.
as a dog owner, I have to say the funny thing is, male dogs bark more, but the female dogs are the aggressors. They're the
They're
ones
more
that'll bite
protective.
you, and it's usually little dogs that are more bitey too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like little dogs tend to be way more aggressive than big dogs. Big dogs tend to just be chill and they're just like, whatever. But yeah, the little dogs, they just have to they have to prove themselves. I think that's where it comes from. But I just love all animals. Someday, if I have property, I would love to have a pet cow.
Really? Do you like
I
the
just think cows are super sweet.
what is it, the Scottish Highland cows that have the long hair?
They're so cute.
And you
Oh my
know they
gosh, they're
make
so cute.
minis. They make mini little furry cows too.
Yeah. Like honestly, that's probably what I would go for. Like a little mini Scottish Highland looking cow. Cause
I'll come visit.
okay.
I'll come visit.
That's
Yeah,
actually
I could live on a farm if I didn't have to get up early and feed everybody.
yeah. I don't think I could be the full I don't feel like I could be a full farmer, but
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't mind having land space to have a bunch of animals. But I can't be up at 5 a.m. like milking a whole herd of cows.
No.
That would be a lot.
But dating a farmer is always good.
Yeah, that's always an option.
Yeah. Someone that does all the maintenance and you just get to love on them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be fine
I've
with
always
that.
said that, like a veterinarian, that would be like the ideal boyfriend.
Oh yeah, because they just have all the knowledge of the animals, and
Exactly.
yeah.
Get the free vetting for all mine. At one time, I had 5 dogs, and they were all over 70 pounds.
Oh wow, I love big dogs. Like I would love to have. Again, it comes down to the space. Like right now, I think that's one of my bigger things on why I don't have a dog at this point is because well, currently I'm in an apartment and plenty of people have dogs in apartments, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just not what I want for my life. If I have a dog, I want them to have a yard that I can just let them loose and run around in. Um, and obviously I'll still take them for walks and everything, but I just want them to have their own space as
Yeah.
well. So
Well, mine are inside, but I've uh, I've recently, like my old pack that I had, they've all kind of expired, and I currently have I've got Winter. I have a German Shepherd.
mhm.
She was a rescue, so she's older. But then I have Boudreaux, and Boudreaux he's over a year, and I just got Wilson, and the boys are probably going to end up being outside dogs. And I
Yeah,
never thought I would say that, but they are so bad, and they get so dirty. It's just like I'm going to have to bathe them all the time.
yeah,
They're little pig pens.
yeah. I mean, I've always with the dogs that I had growing up, and I think that that's part of the reason that I'm like I want them to have a yard is because we did have a pretty big yard growing up. So our dogs were they would go in and out, but they would love to spend their time outside just laying in the backyard in the sun or just running around and doing their thing in the sun. But they were probably like half and half, like indoor, outdoor. They definitely slept inside overnight and all of that. But they would also just go out and spend hours outside during the day.
Um,
Um,
well,
and yeah, so that's what I want when I get my own dogs. That's what I want them to be able to have that opportunity. And in an apartment, you can't do that.
yeah, you can't. But I'll say this: like my big male German Shepherd that I had, he was like 120 pounds, but he did not want to be outside. He wanted to be inside.
Oh yeah, I mean it's all about their personality too, for sure.
Yeah, and these two, they just want to stay out.
Yeah, yeah. My parents' beagle that they currently have, he does not like to spend time outside. He goes on his 3 walks a day, and um, and then other than that, he doesn't really go outside unless my nephews are over, and then he'll go outside and play in the yard with the kids. But other than that, he's very much like, nope, I'm an indoor dog. I go on my walks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, that's winter. Winter's like I lived outside before I came to live here. We've got it good.
right.
And Boudreaux is a Texas healer, so he's a cattle dog, and he just wants to be outside. And
Yeah.
I don't know what Wilson is, but Wilson is just trouble. And I got him for Boo, so Boo would have a playmate, and I call him my dog got a puppy for Christmas, and it's Wilson.
Oh, I tried that with Olive actually, because I had my my first cat that I had. I had him for 14 years, and he sadly passed away um in 2020.
Oh,
And and
sorry.
so Olive, like, she had never been without him, and she had never been um like a single cat. And so I was like, well, after a few months, I was like, well, maybe we should get her. I was living with roommates at the time, and I was like, maybe we should get her like a little playmate. And um, then a friend found a super teeny tiny baby kitten, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks old, which is actually about how old Olive was when I found her. And this kitten was all alone eating tomatoes off of the tomato plant in their backyard. Um, so we brought her in and took her in, and I don't think we introduced them correctly. Like, we tried, but we failed, and they just were consistently fighting and never meshed well. And so when I moved last year, obviously Olive came with me because um, she's been mine since the beginning. But then Simi, which was the kitten we tried to get her, stayed with my roommates. And she actually seems to be just fine being on her own right now. So I've
Isn't
decided
it
not to
funny?
subject her to another kitten.
It's funny how they do that. When Wilson came to live with us, Boo had nothing to do with him or me for about a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then he decided that he could play with Wilson, and he still gave me the cold shoulder. But now they're thick as thieves, and I'm just,
Yeah.
I feel like the old lady who lives in a shoe because I'm constantly cleaning up after them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're they're just another version of kids.
Yeah, they are. And these are two dirty little boys. So,
Yep.
but it's fun. You gotta love them.
Oh yeah. I don't know what I would do without having animals in my life.
I
Like,
know. There's so much company.
they are. They're really good company, and they're entertaining. They're so funny watching them do their little quirks and things.
Hmm. Definitely.
So, I love them. I love them all.
Well, we are super thrilled that you decided to join us on our Weird Reality network that we're creating. And I'm gonna let you go. I know this is your Sunday and you work all week, so
Yeah.
um, we'll see you Wednesday night at
At
is it,
9 Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific.
and that's 8 Central because I'm Central. And
Yeah.
if you're out there, y'all be sure to turn in. This is a great show and with some lovely ladies, and I think that you will really enjoy what all they have to say. And until next time, stay weird.